Welcome back to ARA Unscripted, the podcast where we sit down with people who make the industry what it is and talk about the stories behind the work. My guest today is Pauly D. Paul is someone special to me because he's one of the first people I met when I came into the industry. Paul is someone many of you already know. He's an industry leader, a storyteller, a teacher, and frankly, one of the most passionate advocates for automotive recycling you'll ever meet. Paul's journey is anything but linear, from public speaking and education to owning and transforming an auto recycling business to shaping national conversations around safety recalls and leadership. His career proves that life and success are rarely a straight line. In this conversation, we're going to talk about where the passions come from, the lessons learned from building something the hard way, the power of mentorship, and why relationships, integrity, and showing up for people still matter now more than ever. This is an honest, unscripted conversation about work, family, faith, failure, finding purpose along the way. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and enjoy this conversation with my friend, Pauly D. This episode is sponsored by Northlake Auto Recyclers in Hammond, Indiana. If you've ever ordered a used auto part that showed up late, dirty, or not as described, you know exactly how costly that can be. That's why professionals as well as do-it-yourselfers turn to Northlake Auto Recyclers. Northlake has been serving professional repairers and retail customers since 1984. At Northlake, every part is carefully harvested, tested, and accurately inventoried, so you get exactly what you ordered in the condition promised. From low-mileage engines and transmissions to mirrors, lights, body panels, and even new A-quality OEM surplus parts, their inventory is built for businesses and individuals who don't have time for surprises. They make it easy to find what you need fast, and with next-day delivery throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana, so your repairs stay on schedule. Northlake Auto Recyclers are proud supporters of police, firefighters, the military, and all those who serve and protect us. Northlake Auto Recyclers, when they say they have it, they do. Visit them on narparts.com or call 877-217-8181 to learn more. All right, we're rolling. Everything's rolling. Mr. Pauly D.
I'm nervous.
Come on, how in the world could you be nervous? Nobody would believe that if you didn't just say it on film.
Here's the deal.
What's the deal?
As a public speaker, if you fail to have some nervous energy, I think you're not really genuine.
There you go.
It's real. People who are afraid of public speaking, I'm like, it's real, accept it.
Yeah.
Turn it into energy.
It's energy.
Smile.
Yeah.
Oh, breathe.
Yeah. Those are some real tips too, right? Because those are things that if you fail to do any one of them, you'll fail at all of them, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But you don't have to be nervous. Just you and me in this beautiful room.
No script.
No script, yeah. What'd you tell me? You wrote me. I invited you to do this, and you said yes, of course, because that's the kind of guy you are. And then you emailed me the next day. I don't know. It was like 32 pages of prep work or stuff, right?
No, it's my PDF of my book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you had all this prep, and what did I tell you? I was like,
nothing. Leave it.
Like, we're just gonna talk. Yeah, I want to talk about. This is about this podcast is obviously, you know, it's unscripted, so we're just going to talk, and it's not that's like, oh, I'm so rigid that I don't want to script stuff. It's that I wanted to create a platform to have interesting conversations with people in the industry, and I'm hoping that in the future I'll be able to have interesting conversations with people outside the industry, but who have knowledge and wisdom about topics that can impact the industry. You know, you think about mental health in the workplace and succession, family, business succession, things like that. You know, I don't know, different types of people.
Sure.
But you, my friend, you are an icon. You are a known entity. Everybody knows who Pauly D is. Let's talk about your rise to fame and like where'd that come from? I know part of your story. I've heard it a few times, but you were a recycler. You were at Bill's.
Yep. I think it has to go back to my childhood.
You're going to talk for the next hour and a half. I'm done.
Okay, so childhood,
Yeah.
middle child,
Of how many?
Extremely shy, 3.
Okay.
So, I
Did
really
you say
found
shy?
like unbelievably shy. I found music in grade school,
What do you play?
the drums.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it's
you
like my
still play
wild
the
side
drums?
a little bit. Not as much. I got the set downstairs.
No way.
3 things maybe people don't know. I played the drums. I was a hockey player, and I was a fraternity guy. So I do have a little bit of a wild side, as you well know.
The drums are the only one that surprises me. I have always just admired, I'm fascinated with drummers, that you can physically move your hands and your feet at 2 different rhythms at the same time. And drummers who sing, forget about it.
Yeah. I found that for me, I had the blessing. My parents allowed me to take lessons. We lived at a tenement house, okay? And so when I went to school one day and they had like a music day, and I came home and said, Mom, Dad, I want to play the drums. And they're probably like...
And you were how old?
Probably 8.
Wow.
And my mother said, look, if we're going to buy you a pad, and if you proceed with this and stick with it for X amount of time, we'll consider it. Before you know it, I had a set of drums in my room that I shared with my brother.
Oh, my gosh.
And a 3-decker in Fall River, Massachusetts. And I never stopped playing. And I was able to I played in marching band, concert band. I even played in the symphony once because I was a shorter guy, jazz band. I was not that great, but I was good enough.
Yeah.
And but I was always there. I learned leadership because I started to become an officer in the band, and that started to bring me out. And then I got involved in a little bit of theater. Theater's never a bad thing.
No.
Life is theater.
Life is theater.
And I was in Fiddler on the Roof,
Yeah.
Background player.
Who were you in Fiddler?
I was actually one of the guys who danced with the bottle on their head. But it's learning to play in the sandbox with other people, doing something that's outside of yourself.
Learning how important your component of the overall picture, of the overall success, right? So in a theater production, like if one of the guys dancing with the bottle on his head doesn't know the steps, he's going to make the whole team look like crap.
Oh yeah, there is pressure.
Yeah.
And it was always a joy to have friends and family, and my parents were always supportive. I mean, there's nothing like when we were marching down the main street in Fall River where our house was. We lived in a little Italian neighborhood in Fall River, Massachusetts, and the crowd would just go crazy. I got goosebumps right now, and that kind of excitement in performing, if you will.
Yeah.
I think kind of led to what happened in college and in my careers, because I've had a couple.
I see that. I heard that. I didn't miss that.
So it's, that whole thing with the music, and I've always, I hate to say it, I beat my own tune, man. I just, I've got a rhythm. It soothes me. I was just listening to Santana, one of my favorite artists of all time. I'm Latin music.
You seen him?
Drums, I have.
I have too.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah. That's really cool. I had no idea the music side of you. I may or may not have known about the fraternity or the hockey. Those things really don't surprise me. I'm not saying they're not remarkable. It doesn't surprise me. A Northeast guy. I don't know that I've met many Northeast guys that don't strap on the skates. But playing the drums, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah. And so, where'd you go to college?
So I went to Bryant College, now Bryant University in Smithfield, Rhode Island. Fun fact, my wife also graduated in 1982. Both her mother and my father graduated from Bryant's Providence campus in 1952.
Oh, wow.
I come from a long line of accountants, relatives that went to Bryant, and I didn't quite follow the accounting track.
No, you didn't.
I did well in my coursework, but no, that wasn't going to be me. I liked numbers. I liked the money with the business. I loved making the money, the operations.
Yeah.
But
I've never seen an accountant with one of those money guns.
No, no, definitely not. Not shooting it away.
Yeah, not shooting it away. Yeah. You are, I think, one of the first things when I came on the scene, and it wasn't long before I was somewhere, and I'm like, there's this guy, the core hunter, Pauly D, yank that bag.
Yank that bag,
right?
yep.
Like that's what, and I'm like, who is this guy? And there was something so charismatic about your personality and so confident. I was very surprised to hear you say that as a young boy you were extremely shy, because you've got such confidence, and you come up with these ideas and you execute them. And I think part of that, and we've talked about this before, I think part of that is the magic that you experience working for Raz, and that they've let you, like you've talked about this, they've let you, and just just to put this out there, like you work for Rebuilders Automotive Supply, but this is not this isn't a commercial podcast.
No.
This podcast is about the people, more about the product. Although I recognize, and I've said this before, I recognize that you can't talk about Paul without talking about Raz, so I'm not worried. But it's a big component of your creativity, and is that you found somebody who lets you be creative, doesn't try to put you in a box.
See, and the thing is, and this is why that little email I sent you was, there's a whole life of me in this business at Bill's that led to that. Mm-hmm. The 2 years in between led to that. Truly, I'm forever grateful, because it's not just the company I work for. It's crazy, but I live for it.
Yeah.
And the people there is not Tampa. I was just in Tampa last week. We have such great people, such a vibe there. And at first, I am telling you, within the first month, I came up with Yank That Bag. And I know people were like, this guy is whack job, right? Number one. But then they realize and understand with the, I get very passionate.
Yeah.
And the thing that really struck me about this Takata thing was I had read about this woman, Stephanie Erdman. She was in the Air Force, and she was disfigured by this Takata airbag. And then as I did a little more homework, I realized that both my kids had Takata airbags in their vehicle.
Oh, my gosh.
So when I went on the road and I came up with Yank That Bag, and I give credit to a guy that doesn't live far from here, and Jared Spiegel, mm-hmm. He's the guy, he took me out. I said, look, I know I had a yard. I'm not a dismantler. I'm not an auto mechanic. And he showed me, and one day when he was first taking one out, he let me do it. And I'm like trying to be careful, taking the wires. He says, just yank that thing. Well, 2 days later, at 4 a.m, I grabbed my wife's hand in the middle of the night with the death grip and said, I got it. Yank that bag. Which then turned out because
Yank that thing. You couldn't put that on shirts.
No. But with my wife's input, she said, you know what? Be a lifesaver. Yank that bag. Oh, obviously, nice. Yank that bag. Got the play. And even Honda gave its thumbs up to that. It was a little edgy.
Yeah.
And but it rolls off your tongue. And I was on a mission that first month. I was going to the Denver Fork State show, mm-hmm. thanks to Sandy Blaylock. And I talked to them and I said, look.
What year was that? Do you remember?
It would be 18, because I literally finished my consulting and all that, the classwork.
Okay, so I came in right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought, this is the Yank That Bag guy. But
I've been doing it. Yeah.
You were launching it right around the time I first met you.
First show.
That's amazing.
And I forget who it was I talked to, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this seminar. That's how I kicked the thing off. And I'd like to do a video. And they're like, yeah, this is Colorado. We don't do that. Okay, guess what? I had the president with an orange shirt that said Yank That Bag, standing on a chair with everyone behind him, and we did it.
And you got the whole room shouting.
The whole room. Because it's not just the money. There was money involved. It's the moral thing. It's, do the right thing. Oh, by the way, your customers, your children, your family could potentially have these in their car. I'm pissed at these companies for allowing this. And that was part of my drive.
Yeah, that's
not
really
just
cool.
a job, Vince.
No,
it was a mission.
Of course. I had a similar. I don't know why this makes me think of my experience, because this isn't identical, but There was a few years where, so when I was at Mannheim and I was a manager, one of my big customers was the Military Order of the Purple Heart. It's a military service foundation. They help veterans. They've been around forever, like probably as long as ARA's been around, since the 40s. And they had a 35,000 vehicle a year car donation program going, and they were one of my biggest clients for sending me donation cars that I sold at the auction. And then when I left Mannheim, they asked me to come and work for them, and I did for 2 years. I worked for them and revamped their car donation program. It was amazing work. And I remember feeling like, so if you go back even further, when I got out of high school, I was going to go in the Marine Corps, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And honestly, I talked to the recruiter. There was an MOS that I wanted, wasn't available. A week or so went by. He called me. He said, "Hey, it's available." And at that time, I changed my mind. I just chickened out. I'm like, I don't think I want to do this. And then I lived the rest of my life wishing that I had gone and served our country, that I'd gone into the Marines or at some level served our country. So then you fast forward, and the Military Order of the Purple Heart asked me to come and work for them, and I got to feel like I didn't serve our country, but I was serving those who served our country, right. And I was about as good as I was going to get. And man, I'm very proud of the work I did for them during that time. And so when you talk about how being a part of that Takata airbag recall was personal for you, that's the way it resonates for me. I think back to that time where that was personal, that was a job, but it was very personal for me.
Oh yeah. And to add on to my experience at RAS, I'm in my 9th year at RAS. And after COVID, big transition with Honda and kind of settled down. In 19, it was enormous how we did like close to 250,000 airbags, and that matched what we had done the last 4 years.
Wow.
But RAS, team effort.
Yeah.
I'm only good at what I do. I'm not the guy doing the POs. I'm not doing the logistics.
You're just one guy with a bottle on his head.
Boom. Yeah, bottle on the head. And that's always proud. And I would tell people in my seminars, remember, I'm just the mouth. I got a whole bunch of people, a whole team that's backing you up in this industry. We've been doing it for, at that time, close to 50 years.
Yeah.
And like you said, they literally, it was such a good matchup with my skills, my creativity, and the platform. Basically, I even went to IRT, and we had an international group in their own language yelling, "Yank that bag." Now, I don't know how that translates in Japanese, but we had a ball in England doing that. So global platform, if you will, to send the message out.
Really cool. So after college, what happened between college and Bills?
So I can never say any story without mentors. And I'm not going to, if I started naming people, as I did in the book, it's just, I'm so grateful for those people. I was fortunate to get involved with the Student Senate at Bryant. Talk about lights out. I mean, it was just like, I was a man on a mission again.
What is that?
So that is the student governing body,
student governing,
right?
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know what's in it with me. I get onto missions. I was selected by my peers as Senator of the Year. Within 2 years, I served 2 years as president of student government. I had a plush office in our unit structure with a huge window.
In college?
In college. Oh, man. And our fraternity was right outside
the
Senate office.
Did that impress the girls?
My problem was I had a girlfriend.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No disrespect.
She left me. She goes, "You don't have time for me." I was on a mission. It wasn't the right time.
Wow.
So Student Senate, 2 years. The woman and my fraternity brother, my big brother, he was president 1 year, and this woman, Sharon, she came back to Bryant and said to me, "Paul, you've got to come to Emerson College to grad school." Now, I'm going to tell you something. I have a bachelor's and a master's. I am not a scholarly person. I'm a doer. You know that.
I do.
I was like osmosis, business management, undergrad, business and organizational. Always what I found my niche, Dr. Burton Fishman recognized in public speaking in my sophomore year that I had something. And he worked with me, developed it. As I become involved with Student Senate, I'm in front of people. I helped get student representation on the Board of Governors. And it was just everything I touched seemed to be something that grew into something greater than I could ever imagine. And by the way, my father was on the alumni board, and I get a call one time at my dorm. He says, hey, one of my friends was up there. He says he sees our last name, Diadamo, all over the unit structure. What are you doing? He says, I was gun shy. I didn't want to tell them
You were
in case I lost.
low balling it. Oh, you were running.
And that was my first year. I ran, I won, never looked back
And you never told them.
until I won.
Yeah.
By that point, they were kind of like, okay, what's going on? So she says, you have to come to Emerson for your master's. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to go to work. But it was the right thing to do.
So what did you have in your mind was going to be your career while you were going to school?
It had to do something with public speaking and leadership. And honestly, you had the management degree coming out of Bryant back in 1982. I mean, I had interviews for companies like Ball Bearings, a friend of mine, 40 years. He's been at GM as a manager. I don't think that was going to be me. But Emerson led me to work. My first job was at Wang Laboratories training.
Yeah.
And I found that even though I hated computers at Bryant, at Wang, I was teaching people to use their applications. Guess what? Think about business, running a business. I learned word processing, spreadsheets. By the way, that was at the beginning of the spreadsheet era. Excel, Lotus 123. I was there.
Yeah.
Recalculating. That was, you had to hit a button to recalculate your spreadsheet. Desktop publishing. I mean, just a platform of tools that I had to master in order to teach. I was teaching in-house people. Then I graduated to corporate training where I was teaching people from the field. State-of-the-art training facility at Wang. Ultimately, they went out of business. They missed they were, the mainframes, the minis. They kind of missed the PC wave, which I was all set for that. That's what kind of got me into the next stage.
And about what year was this?
So that would have been like 83, 84.
Okay. So you find yourself educated and unemployed.
Yep. So I left them and I did headhunting for a couple of years.
Oh, so you didn't lose your job when they went out of business, you left before that?
Well, I lived through a couple of layoffs. I was on the front line. I developed training programs, and I was delivering training literally at the front line, so they really couldn't afford to get rid of me right away.
Right.
But I recognized the writing on the wall. A friend of mine said, hey, I got this good gig at this headhunting place in Burlington, Mass. And I spent 2 years there, in some cases cold calling, building networks, doctors, engineering. We worked with digital.
The worst.
Oh my gosh.
I sold insurance. I never talk about it. I don't know why, but there was a couple years where I sold life insurance, and I learned two things. I learned I hate cold calling, and but I did learn I'm a decent salesperson. I had a 98% closure rate. If I sat at a table across from you, you were going to buy some insurance.
Right.
But the worst part about that is that it took me, I don't know, probably took me 15 years for me to realize that I did like selling, because I related selling with cold calling. And so when I left that business, I swore I wasn't going to be a salesperson. I think that's when I that was the job I had before I went to Progressive, I believe. Because I never looked back. And then later in life, maybe about 15-ish years, 20 years at the most ago, my wife and I became friends through church with another couple. Our kids all got along. We spent many, many years hanging out, vacationing together. And he was a software salesperson for security into government and military. So he's a high-level executive salesperson, VP level. And he used to tease me all the time. He's like, "You're a salesperson." I hate sales. And then at some point, I came to the conclusion, and went back to him and was like, guess what? What? I really like sales. He's like, I've been telling you this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but cold
People
calling,
see things.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Sharon saw that in me. She was not letting up either. And, fast forward, when I left Pick and Pull after we sold Bill's Auto Parts, she has woven in our lives, my wife and I, several
You said
times.
Sharon. Is this the woman that told you needed to go to Emerson?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
So there's
And
several years. So you're talking about college, and then Wang, and then headhunting, and then
I went to work for her doing training again, back
then you
in
went
computer
back. Wow.
training, which
so this
led
is a
me.
lifelong friend.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And she just seems to know. So she ultimately was the coordinator at Curry College for the communications department. At the same time, she was the director of the speech program at Babson College, where our son went to college. So when I left Pick and Pull after my 2 years, she rang me up and said, why don't you come work for Curry? And then I started there one night a week teaching, because I have a master's. I literally got the envelope, Professor Pauly D. What was the first thing that I thought, Vince?
I don't know, but that's incredible. What'd you think? Like, professor?
Because I'm adjunct, I'm still a professor. And the first thing I thought, literally, I'm not one to cry. What would my grandparents think? And I always think my Irish side, hey, they had been here, but my Italian side, what would they think? This, it was only two of us in the family that have masters, and now I see this professor, my parents.
Wow.
It just, pride, runs through us. Our DNA, from our heritage, pride is such a big thing. Family.
I got to tell you, so
I
have this runs deep with me. So my buddy, same guy I was just telling you a story about. He's got him and his wife have this beautiful sailboat. He grew up on Long Island. He keeps his boat in Annapolis, and several times he's made the run from Annapolis to Long Island up to Northport and back. And I've had the privilege of being on 3 or 4 of those journeys, and it's just fabulous. And so the second run, we ran the boat up there, and then at the end of the summer we were bringing the boat back. And so I went up to Northport, and we left Northport about 6 o'clock in the evening. And I had one of my sons, Joey, he was with me, and he was getting ready to go to the Navy. So this is like weeks before he was leaving to go to the Navy, basic training or boot camp, whichever one they call it. And so he's with me. So this is a pretty important father-son journey. It's with my buddy and a bunch of other guys. And we leave Northport about 6 p.m. and we come down the East River, which is amazing at night, right? Just amazing. Come down the East River, see the New York skyline underneath the 7 bridges. We get to the New York Harbor. It's about 1 a.m. And, you go into the New York Harbor and you hang a left and you just head down the Atlantic coast, right? So, you go into the New York Harbor anytime during the day, and it's like Frogger, like the taxis and the tankers, and it's just like nuts. At 1 a.m., there's nothing. New York skyline, Lady Liberty, Ellis Island. So I'm up. He goes, go wake your boy up. And so I go wake Joe up. He wakes everybody up, and we take that boat, and we go across the New York Harbor right to the feet of the Statue of Liberty. And I remember I'm getting chills. I standing on the bow of that boat, and I started thinking and there's Ellis Island, and I started thinking about if it were not for a 17-year-old Italian guy in a tiny little village in the mountains of southern Italy who left almost 120 years ago and got on a boat and came across the ocean and walked through those doors, I wouldn't have my son. I wouldn't have my life. I wouldn't have any of it. And I stood there at 1 a.m. on the bow of that boat under the moonlight looking at the Statue of Liberty with tears rolling down my face, thinking about the same thing that you were thinking about when you were looking at that envelope that said Professor Pauly D.
That shy kid.
It's amazing.
Family is everything. Obviously, even for my children, my wife, my in-laws. It's just, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And then, it drives you to always try to be the best. Coming from my background, I redid the syllabus. I have that skill set. And I had a lot of nursing students, and some of them, sometimes you can't see the truth through the trees through the forest.
Yeah.
They're under such pressure for grades and whatnot, they fail to recognize the importance of communication. We did public speaking. I had them read children's books just to break down the barriers. I said, you are going to have patience. I don't care how good you are at pulling blood. Patience from 5 to 85. There's going to be a time when you need to be able to look them in the eye, put an arm on an elbow, show concern, get them through it. Communication.
Yeah. Soft skills.
Life skill. What I'm giving you in this one semester can last a lifetime.
Yeah. I can't teach you biology, but I can teach you. But I can teach you I can teach you people. I can teach you certain aspects about people and how to reach them and how to comfort them and how to look them in the eye. So important. Again,
I'm just very passionate about what I do. And so some students came up to me at the end of the semester going, wow, I'm so glad I finally paid attention.
Professor. That's amazing. So how did you go from this world of academia to auto salvage?
So, the auto salvage actually started in 1990. So my father-in-law, Bill's Auto Parts, his wife was related to my mother-in-law. No kids. My father-in-law always wanted to have a small business. Bill had passed away, 85 years old, like 1985. And ultimately, him and my mother-in-law bought the business as a retirement project.
Oh, wait. Say that again, because I'm sure everybody from the auto recycling industry would love to hear you repeat that your in-laws bought an auto recycling business as a retirement project. Mm-hmm. Maybe more people should think about that, huh?
Yeah. And so at this point, I'm like still in the computer business. I'm working for a company called Businessland. And I was between jobs. And I said to my wife, who is an only child, and we got to know what's going on down there. Now, understand, I was going 3 hours a day commuting to Boston, Framingham, wherever here in Massachusetts. This is 20 minutes away. Now, I had been there. Started in the 1932, can I say shithole?
You can.
I know Marty said S-H-I-T.
He did, and I just got done interviewing Scott Robertson, so you can imagine how he... Yeah. I'm not even going to tell you what he said.
And, but they were very hard workers. They were not mechanics. Yeah. My father-in-law was in sales, good humor, knew how to organize and clean things, and he started to, in 87, started cleaning up the facility. Mm-hmm. After decades of accumulation of crap everywhere, inside, outside, this facility had a degree, a PhD, because the SHITE was piled higher and deeper. PhD, piled higher and deeper. Capiche?
Capiche.
Okay. So 1990, I says to Len, hey, I'm using the hands. Marty, if you're watching, I'm using the hands. We got to know what's going on. I went down there. Were they using the label millennial in 1990?
No, I don't think so. No.
Walked in, Macintosh computer with no hard drive.
You did?
Uh-huh. Sat on a little desk in a little office I shared with my mother-in-law. Never left. Found out the doer, not the academic. Although the three gentlemen who had been there for decades, I knew, I came to love them as uncles. I knew they were snickering like, this city slicker ain't never going to make it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Half Italian, half Irish, baby.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn as the day is long. What I found was I was on a mission. It got ugly sometimes because we started cleaning up. We had a cease and desist order. We had a lot of stuff going on that Bill apparently escaped from, right? He was grandfathered in, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then ultimately...
That's interesting. The minute you started trying to...
clean up.
Then you caught pressure.
Yep. We got you. And we went to meetings, DEM. This has got to be cleaned up in a year and a half. I'm like, it took decades Very professional. We hired a lawyer. We got an environmental guy. Funny thing happened. They seemed to forget about us. No kidding. Literally, we had meetings, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. We never got callbacks or anything.
You were in the middle of a process.
So,
And
Pauly
then
D,
they just...
consistency runs in my blood. I continue to send Excel spreadsheets, how many tires we removed, how much pound metal, anything I could quantify, continued to send it. It was like a year and a half later. Oh, by the way, did I mention that at the same time the state was going to put a bike path on the back of our property, which borders the Blackstone River, one of the most polluted rivers from the Industrial Revolution?
Oh, my gosh.
Town had a dump back there, lots of pressure. I continued to send these reports and look, we're working, we're cleaning. Finally get a call back. We go in there. The guy says to me, you know what? You're a man of your word. You kept working, cleaning. I said, I got business people that we're dealing with that have been in business forever. Can't get them to do a darn thing. He says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send someone out there to inspect 2 to 3 times a year. You keep doing it. You keep sending the reports. It took 15 years to clean that mess up. Inside, outside, the whole shebang.
Wow.
400-yard embankment that they had just dumped debris over the years with a loader. Dump. We had to, and in the beginning, we didn't have deep pockets. We'd go down with old man Pete in the loader. He'd scoop a bunch, throw it down. We'd hand pick it. Who's going to do that? You're just going to send people down? This guy. I was fortunate. A mutual friend in the business put me together with this guy, Jim Penault, who ultimately we spent 18 years together turning that business around. Thank God, Jim was the auto guy. I was, the schlep. Mm-hmm. I would go out there with the guys because I had to be a leader.
Wait. You were the schlep with a PhD.
Yeah. Loading tires.
Did that ever wear on you? Did you ever, like, as you are picking through trash, did it ever wear on you that I've got a PhD? What am I doing?
Well, I have masters. The PhD the facility had because the crap was piled higher and deeper.
You're masters. You're a doctor.
Masters.
You're a professor.
2 degrees.
You're a professor.
But you know what? I use that as fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure my parents were like, what are you doing?
No, you get my question,
Yeah.
right? The same thing you just said your parents were thinking. Did that ever cross your mind? And
you know what? I used to have a saying, 1 step forward, 5 steps back.
I'm not good at math, but
there was a time, the odds were against us. There were times when I would get everyone ready in the morning. We're going to go down and clean, literally maybe take 10 steps, look, get overwhelmed with the enormity and just turn around. But consistency and persistence, it seemed like every time we cleaned and organized as we moved along,
you get a little
the business
energy.
improved.
Yeah.
And I had some good mentors even within the State Association of Rhode Island. Remember, I am the poster child for associations. I know we're going to talk about ARA and URG.
Yeah.
But there was a guy in the State Association of Rhode Island who said, Paul, you know what you got to do? You got to take out whole sections and start from scratch. And he kind of gave me a blueprint of how to reorganize because literally these cars were up, we call them Rhode Island, side by each. I mean, like on top of each other, no consistency everywhere. It was a hellhole. Little pieces. And I remember there was a day when I said to Jim, 5 steps forward, no steps back. We had turned the corner. It took 15 years. Oh, by the way, with that state, the boardwalk that they're going to put behind our property, it took them 15 years to clean the town dump, to get all the easements. When we finished our embankment that was facing this bike path, we had bermed it. We had seeded the sides. We had put a fence up, put slats in it. I even put birdhouses on the tops of the fence poles. We never got one complaint from anyone on that bike path.
I bet. That's amazing.
Oh, did I mention? Things happened, Vince. 06, we were invited to the Environment Council of Rhode Island's big annual dinner. And someone said, are you going to get an award? And I'm thinking, geez, that's great. So I bought a table. Friends, family were at the table. We won the Senator John Chafee Conservation Award. This is made by like the guys that make the PGA trophies. I mean, this is big time. Chafee's son, he had passed away. Chafee's sons, Lincoln Chafee, who was a senator, presented the award. They had never given it to a commercial enterprise before.
Wow.
But my friend who submitted the application said, these guys are the real deal. They're here for the community. There were groups in town that would clean tires and stuff off the river. I told them, you bring them to me, because I'm getting rid of tires. I may as well get yours, because I guarantee some of them came from us or from Bill.
Right.
Community engagement. We actually had the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council had their meeting at our place once.
That's incredible.
I don't know how this happened. It's like an out-of-body experience, but I had to lead. I had to show my people, this is what I want. I want to be able to bring people, school buses on tours, do the walkabout, talk about auto recycling. And I had gotten involved with ARA, grassroots, with Michael Wilson way back in the day. Mm-hmm. Used to go to Hill Days, because here's that college, that outside world experience saying, you need to step up. You just can't be a taker. You got to give back. I'm a give back guy.
Yeah,
you got to be give back.
That's amazing. And so
that's life. That's
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to put in. What? When did you sell? And what? I mean, what clicked? I mean, it seems like this is something you invested so much into. Mm-hmm. Was it the money? Which is no shame in that. Was that just a good number, or what was it that made you?
So, 25 years roughly. 15 years cleaning up. We finally hit stride. Now we were at urban. Most cars off the street. We got our Hollander system in 95. I recognized, coming from the software business, Hollander had bought Auto Info, big problems, right? Pinnacle comes out. You've seen Bill Topa and Ron Sturgeon's talk. Mm-hmm. I just took to that like unbelievable. I just saw a vision. Obviously, I've already been involved with ARA. Some people that I met in those Hill Days, I'm still friends. I just talked to Steve Brandon.
Yeah.
Steve Holland down at Brandon's.
Steve Holland, yeah.
These people, Bob Utter, DJ Harrington, I mean, the list goes on and on. Now I'm getting involved with URG. They asked me to be on the board. The software is just being developed. I showed up my first board meeting in 2000 with my check deposit for Pinnacle. I knew Pinnacle was for me. Mm-hmm. I'm a reports guy. I'm a software guy. We built a self-serve from those off-the-street cars. We started to build out our facility, our process, and as we developed, I kind of got bored. We put up a new building in 2006. We got that award.
Yeah.
Right? But ultimately, I'm not a parts guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy who fell into the parts business. I'm building a team. I got people. We built a team. We still have reunions. It was so awesome. But in 2000, I turned 50. A bell went off. Exit plan. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna be Bill. I'm not gonna die at this place.
Right. No, that makes sense. When you said I kind of got bored, that clicked for me. I've had I've had several roles. Going back to Progressive, when I was a team leader and I was responsible for a network of body shops and their performance on repairing cars, I was a fixer. Right? They as soon as I had an agreement with my boss. When they did your review, they would big part of your review was based on the performance of the shops that were under your management. And I said, look, you need to grade me on a curve if you're going to move me around. He said 100%, because I was effective. So I was almost always in an environment with the worst performing shops. And as soon as I got them performing well, they would move me somewhere else and I would do it. So, and I loved it. And then when I went to work at Mannheim, I was starting something from nothing, right? They had a 35 car scratch and dent sale every other week, and I grew it to a 350 car legitimate a week legitimate salvage car sale. yeah, I mean, Progressive, before I went to Mannheim, they moved me when I became a manager. They moved me to the worst performing branch in the country, and I got it to side of the quarter before the end of the year. So on and on and on. When I went to work for Purple Heart, and I completely revamped their car donation program. There's a long story. I'm going to condense it, but they made the decision to farm their car donation program out to a large salvage auction company. And so once they did that, and I was part of the decision, I didn't think it was a great decision, but I laid all the facts on the table, and their board decided that's what they wanted to do. So they did. And my boss the CEO of Purple Heart, he said to me, I need you to, basically I had to redo a org chart and of all the people I was going to let go because we were shutting down a call center. We had title clerks, all this stuff. I said, okay. And he expected it to just be me. He wanted me to stick around to manage the auction company that was going to be, right? So I gave him the org chart. I kept skeleton crew, like 2 people, to be honest with you. It was a title clerk and the guy that worked for me and managed some of the auctions that I couldn't manage. He said, why are you keeping him? And I said, because this job's going to get boring for me and I'm going to go and I don't want to leave you high and dry. And I knew I was running a risk. Like he could have said, okay, bye, but he didn't. I said, you need to keep him because I see what this job is going to be. It's going to be spreadsheets and phone calls and emails. And I said, I'm a hands-on, boots on the ground guy. And so I don't want your future to be left holding with nobody. Keep this guy. And I'm looking for something else. But when you said I got bored, I immediately realized, like, yeah.
And that's the thing.
I like building. I like fixing.
So that's the thing. I came home one day and Lynn's like, you okay? I said, oh, my God.
It was like a light bulb.
I'm chasing freight slips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I like the people part, and then, so I said, I'm just bored.
Yeah.
She said, well, we got to find something. You know what I found? A friend of mine used to work for a competitor. He was from the Dominican Republic. We started exporting. So now we have the new building. We re-racked the back. The wheels are turning. Adrian comes on. Next thing you know, we go to the Dominican Republic. We get a deal. We're shipping quarterly, blah, blah, blah.
So let me get this straight. You're an Italian guy from the Northeast who's into import-export.
Yeah, exactly. Hey. So 50, we literally had an appraisal done of the business. Guy says, and this is so amazing, a lot of small business people don't do this. They don't want to spend the money to have it appraised. They think they got a number in their mind. It's kind of big, always a bigger number than they think. He says, most important meeting of your career right now, because I can tell you where you're at. He's looked at my financials. He's done the real estate thing. He says, you guys are in great position. Practically new building. You got management, blah, blah, blah. And I just sat on that. And 3 years later, Pick and Pull was moving into New England. Mm-hmm. I contacted Bobby Valchis, local guy who owned the 2 stores that they had already bought in Millis and Freetown. I said, hey, congratulations. We got talking. Within 2 days, I got a call. And it's like a Seinfeld situation. I called my wife. I said, I got the call. Oh, my God. She says, what call? I said, the call. I said, Pick and Pull called.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know who Pick and Pull is.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. We were so well organized. We sold that business in under 110 days from the first call.
Wow.
Financials, my fraternity brothers, our tax guy, our accountant, investor, financial, Lynn rose to the occasion as she did. We put up our building, put together the business plan, due diligence. We had a Dropbox. Every question they had on that long due diligence, she was popping, scanning, boom, 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 operations, environmental. We had done a phase 1 or phase 2 for the building.
Yeah.
I got a call one day. Hey, why is it that you guys have all this stuff like already done? Most times when we're buying a small business, we're getting little dribs and drabs. I said, dude, did you not see what you were buying? This is how we roll.
Yeah.
I may not be a parts guy, but we built this business, the people, the facility, the processes. It was like a well-honed machine. Did I want to sell? No.
Yeah, but
Did I want to die there?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. It sounds like you built something perfect for selling even before you thought.
Who are we? I don't even know how it all happened.
Yeah, yeah,
I know 15 years broke our backs.
yeah. And it doesn't sound like, so we'll talk about your bride, Lynn. It doesn't sound like she was a, like some I would say most wives.
Yeah.
They don't know at that level, at a granular level, what about their husband's work. Sounds like she was more involved than most. Am I right? How long you been married?
So, funny you should ask that.
Yeah.
40 years, April 12th.
40?
40.
Awesome.
3 years dating, 40. Awesome. I go back to, we didn't date in college. We met a year afterwards. Again, in college, who was I?
You were too busy.
I was Mr. Brown. I'm like running around. We had a band in college. Oh, my first band. I got to say this.
Yes, please.
Oh, now you got me caught.
Oh, come on.
Okay. The CPAs. They were all accountants, but they were graduating.
Did that stand for something else, or was it
No.
just the CPAs?
The CPAs, yeah. But so 40 years in April, we were, not only did we have the business with my in-laws, but there was a point my father had COPD. He retired a couple of years after I got in there.
Yeah.
Like, you're leaving me? But those 2 years, I mean, we always got along. In the years that we ran the business, never had a crossword. Why? Our goals were mutual.
Are you talking about your father-in-law?
Father-in-law.
Okay.
Father-in-law.
Did Lynn work with you in the business?
So she was in the background. So when he retired, so to speak, after his open heart surgery, I set him up with a computer, an Apple computer. He did the payroll and the books, two things that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to be bogged down with that. So she was in the background. She would do insurance and advertising and stuff like that. When he passed, she was a marketing person. She jumped into that role. Obviously, very astute, very detail-oriented. She worked well with Mark, our accountant, and just it was magic.
Yeah.
We'd have meetings, and I'd be like, oh, my God. Talking about envelopes, where the money's going to go. I said, can I go back and make the money so you guys can figure it out? But ultimately, in particular, getting the finances for the building, brand new building, 10,000 square foot, and selling the business, clutch player.
Yeah.
Always, but we always had one goal: family. The kids got to see this in action, and it was just an amazing process. I had a 1-year contract with Pick and Pull. I ended up spending 2 years. I was a regional manager for them. We had 4 locations. By the way, I might be the only guy who can say, he not only turned around an old school junkyard into a modern recycling facility. One of my first jobs at Pick and Pull, we were building a brand new facility in Johnson, Rhode Island. Me and my HR person, Alice, were tasked with staffing a brand new facility ground up in about 4 months.
Wow.
My last job at Pick and Pull, I got another call. Hey, man, we're shutting down the 2 Massachusetts locations, and basically you're out of a job. We don't have a regional if we don't have 2 stores. I said, what do you need me to do? Oversee the closure of 2 stores. Dude, cars, legacy stuff, blah, blah, blah. When we finished, and this was the end of February, May 29th was the Friday of that quarter. If you walked the properties, you wouldn't have even found a bolt on the ground.
Wow.
We kept the staff together. Again, the people part.
Yeah.
And I'm out there doing it with them. Turned around, helped staff a brand new, closed 2 facilities.
Wow.
It's in the book.
We're going to.
You want to talk about that?
Let's talk about the book. Yeah, we'll talk about the book. I want to put the book at the end.
Yeah,
because I want to leave people with that, and I think that's really cool. So that's amazing. So what's this bring us up to? About what year are we talking when you wrap up your career with Pick and Pull?
2015.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I took a sabbatical for a month.
Well, sure. You deserved it.
Right? Wife and I bought a new car, drove to Prince Edward Island. Mm-hmm. My son and I went to Germany for a week. He had just finished college at Babson. And I came back. I already had a gig lined up teaching public speaking at Bay State College down here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Because we had used their facility, got to know the guys there. That's when my friend Sharon said, hey, man, why don't you come up and teach at Curry with me? Uh-huh. And that started the collegiate teaching. So ultimately, there's a 2-year span there from when I left to when I came to Raz. So I was doing a little mastermind group with some recyclers up in New Hampshire. I was doing the teaching at Babson. Actually, the Babson, I wasn't teaching. I was a speech consultant. We had 7 of us, literally 6-7 days a week. I'd go in for 3 or 4 hours. Babson, undergrad, graduate, their MBA program is unbelievable. They were groups that came in that were pitching ideas to the Red Sox, maybe for class. It was amazing. So that's 2 years. Ultimately, that 2017, I was on the road. Sandy Blaylock plugged me in 2016 and 17, speaking about management topics, running the business, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And my 2017, I spent 10 years with a guy you might be familiar with, Tom Andrade.
Yeah.
Oh, in ARA circles, they call him Andrade. When I grew up in Fall River, we said Andrade. Sorry.
Yeah.
At Everett's. So we did.
So in 17, you said, repeat that.
2017.
You spent how many years?
2 years.
2 years.
2-year span.
Okay.
I was doing the mastermind with the recyclers in New Hampshire.
Right. What'd you do with Tom?
So we did a management training program once a month with his management team.
Okay.
Off-site.
So you didn't work for Everett's? No. But you were a contractor, consultant. Yeah.
At the same time, we were doing these management meetings, a host of topics. Change was the big theme, right? Because he had some old school guys. He recognized he had a problem as his business is growing, and it is a big enterprise.
Yeah, it is.
He's got procedures, policies, and job descriptions that are all over the place.
Yeah, he does.
Excel, PDFs, blah, blah, blah.
You mean like that? I mean, today he's got, you were part of that? Today he's got, like, I remember that was one of the first things that impressed me about him. You're getting ready to tell me you did it. But he when I got to know him a few years ago and then gotten to know him even better since he's been on the EC, he has a documented process for everything.
Okay. So these Word documents, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
He says, I need to get these together.
Yeah.
Formatted. I started compiling them, trying to find a standardized format. And ultimately, I was out in LA to see my son. My days at Wang, I learned this program, FileMaker Pro, the database for the rest of us. I'm no programmer. I started a process of documenting, because now I know if I put in a database, I can search across all job descriptions.
Right.
Now I'm taking his job descriptions and processes, putting them in order, grammatically, functionally, the whole thing. I got to a point where I hit a wall, and there's a company in Framingham that I went to prior for FileMaker stuff, and the guy literally had a template. He says, you're the luckiest guy in the world. He's got a template that generally fits what we're doing. I called Tom. I said, dude, we got to scrap what we've done. And it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
I figured it out quick. I would come to him, and I'd have the formatted form, documents, whatever. We would sit together for hours pouring through every job description, process, policy, whatever. And ultimately, that is in FileMaker Pro. It's a database. And he's obviously added on it immensely since 2017.
Yeah. Wow.
And he has said the story that, Paul, I don't think if you knew the level of detail and time you would invest in that you would have done it. I said, I would have done it all over again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I can be very detailed, granular, as well as fire off money guns at trade shows, right?
That is funny. That's
Comic
two different
relief.
personalities. Yeah, for sure.
But Tom and I have been very close ever since. Obviously now with his son, Ben, who went to Bryant, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Tom went to Bentley. We can excuse him. He's one of our competitors,
But you mentioned where your son went. It wasn't
Babson.
Wasn't
The three,
Bryant?
in New England, the three
Okay.
Bs. Bryant, Babson, Bentley.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, that brings us up to pretty current then, doesn't it? Because at some point around that time, you must have encountered Raz, right?
So Marcy had given me a call in December. Lynn and I went in. It was Marcy, Steve, and Jesse, our CEO. And we were talking about all different things. And, I told him I was consulting, kind of explain what was going on. We leave. We get in the car. And I said to Lynn, man, I don't know. I'm doing a teaching thing, blah, 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 how I'm going to fit in. She literally slaps me and says, were you not listening? They need you full time for this job, Takata recall. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess the same thing, conversation happened with Marcy and Steve. Marcy's like, what are you, an idiot? We need this guy, right?
Yeah.
And I called Steve within a few days and I said, man, I just can't stop. I've done some homework. I can't stop thinking about this Takata thing. He says, what if we wrote a job description for you? Would you consider working full time? Now, I was a customer of theirs.
Okay. Oh, sure.
When I had bills.
Yeah.
There's, I worked with Marcy when we used to have the New England trade shows at Raz.
Yeah.
The relationship is deep.
Yeah.
And so imagine at 58,
Yeah.
having someone said, if we write a job description.
Well, when
Boom.
I left Mannheim, one of the first phone calls I got was from one of the guys on the board of directors at Purple Heart, Sal, and yeah, you can guess. Anyway, he asked me if I would meet him. He was from South Carolina. He asked me if I would meet him at their attorney's office in Annapolis, Maryland, along with one or two other guys. And they wanted to talk about their car donation program. All they knew from me is that I was their guy at Mannheim, Fredericksburg. So I went up there. At this point, what happened was Mannheim made a run at salvage auction, and they ran at it for 6-7 years. This is the time I
remember that.
Right? Total Resource
TSA?
TRA.
TRA.
Total Resource Auctions. I knew early on that they were struggling to behave like a salvage pool because I knew exactly what a salvage pool was supposed to behave like from my time at Progressive. and so it was tough. They were having a hard time adjusting their behavior to service the clients that weren't the typical fleet, whole car clients. So after 7.5 years, the writing was on the wall. They were now backing off of TRA as it was its own thing. It had its own salvage license, separate, blah, blah, blah. And I knew they were backing off. My sale was doing really well, so I knew it was going to take them a little while to get to me, but eventually they got to me. And what they did is they started letting go all the TRA managers, and they would just absorb that business into the fleet lease department. So it came to Fredericksburg, and that was the first time in my life I ever got laid off, right? So I'll never forget that. My kids, 2 kids in middle school, grade school, middle school, I don't know. Kids in middle school, grade school, 4 kids. I remember going home and, I walk in the door. I was reeling. Like I did not know what to do. And kids are being kids and wife is talking, and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And I looked at Michelle and I said, I'm going to go upstairs, which was very unusual. So I go upstairs. She follows me upstairs. And I remember standing in front of her a little bit closer than you and I are sitting here. And I told her what happened. And I said, yeah, I got let go and they've da-da-da-da. And I'll never forget what she did. She looked me in the eyes. She put both hands on my shoulders. She stepped in really close to me and she said, God's got this. We're going to be fine. And I mean, I get choked up. I tell that story every once in a while. And I remember telling my kids, you find yourself a spouse. You find yourself a spouse that when a fire starts, they bring you a bucket of water, not a bucket of gasoline. And
hey, we sold the business. Okay, what do you do? No, I will tell you this.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to finish my story.
Yeah.
So I get let go. Purple Heart calls me. They got word, and so they called me up. They liked they liked me, right? And so I go to Annapolis. I go to this attorney's office in his house, beautiful, big, long mahogany. And we're sitting there. They got charts. They got spreadsheets. They got all this stuff. They have pulled back the curtain on their entire car donation program, and it is a disaster. A disaster. A big machine, like I said earlier, 35,000 cars a year, and it is not being run well, right? So after about 30 minutes of them unpacking what's going on, they say, what do you think we should do? And so I spend 20 minutes saying, this is exactly what I would do. And I explain why this is what I would do. And they go, okay. And I go, all right. And I'm trying to leave, right? They go, no. That's good. I go, okay, great. Thanks for lunch. Bye. And they're like, no. We want you to do. That's how I was still reeling from being let go, right? So they go, no, we want you to do that. And so but it kind of reminded me, like when you were just talking about, like, they're like, no, you need a full-time, this is a full-time gig. And you're like, I was thinking,
you're the guy.
I was just up there. I went there for the relationship. I went there because these people meant something to me. And even though I wasn't working, if I seriously didn't think I was going to get a job. I didn't think it was an interview. I just thought I was going up there because I knew them. They knew me. They trusted me. They needed some advice. I didn't think they needed a guy. I thought they needed advice. And so I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because I did understand. I mean, I certainly had the understanding, and I still do, that when you have an opportunity to do something like that, you do, right? If you know something and somebody asks you about that something, you share it.
Yeah.
And so
don't hold back.
You don't hold back. Why would you hold back? So anyway.
Yeah. So
your
think about it. So yeah, hey, great. We sold the business 2 years. Well, what are you going to do afterwards? I'm like, I do not fear anything. One of the topics that I've always talked about in my seminars, being the new guy.
Yeah.
Hey, when I went to Bill's, new guy.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Wang, I'm not a computer guy. I'm the new guy. Being the new guy makes you ingratiate, get yourself involved, figure out what your lane is. Teaching at Curry, I'm like, oh my gosh. Sharon told me, she goes, the department chair wants to meet you, but it's not an interview. Okay. I go meet him. He says, Paul, just want to let you know, it's not an interview. If you're a friend of Sharon, I'm good. What I need from you, can you just follow the syllabus from A to Z? I need tenured professors that want Mondays off. They want Fridays off. They shrunk the agenda, the syllabus.
Yeah.
I said, dude, I'm an A to Z guy. I'll make it happen. But based on the recommendation from Sharon, saw the resume, I guess, no problem.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I haven't had to apply for a job in 20-something years. But,
Well, after this interview,
who knows?
Raz might be like, hey.
Yeah, I say all the time. I say this a lot. Do what you say you're going to do. Be honest. Own your mistakes. Be likable. And there's not much you can't accomplish.
I'm a hard worker.
Yeah.
May not be the smartest guy in the room.
You are today. I guarantee you are in this room.
But it's an adventure.
Yeah.
Life is an adventure. Title of the book, Life's Not a Straight Line.
Yeah. So what?
Oh, by the way, did I mention the Christmas tree thing?
No.
Yeah. So don't compare us to Wilbert's. Literally. So my father-in-law one night calls us and said, hey, back to Lydia, Bill's wife. Mm-hmm. You guys want to move to the farm? What are you talking about? I'm a city guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, the farm is a family property that Lydia owned, had been renting it for decades, and the tenants moved.
Yeah.
House was built in 1878. Lynn's relative was born there.
Oh, my gosh.
We go to visit. 2 acres, North Attleboro, closer to home. See, the steps, the dominoes are lining up.
Sure.
By the way, there's property across the street. We don't do anything with it right away. We spent literally 34 years turning that house around. So not only now we get the house, we're rebuilding the property. we, at some point, I think it was Len, said, hey, we got this property. Maybe we should start a Christmas tree farm and help pay for the kids' education. Literally, now I'm still working in Boston at this point. I'm over at the tree farm. We're tilling.
Oh my gosh.
Sticking trees in the ground. Don't know jack about that. And then I kind of get involved with the auto parts business. Don't know anything about it. New guy, the millennial, 1990, Macintosh computer, no hard drive. I don't know. I don't know how, but.
So I got to tell you, because we've had, I don't know if I would call it parallel lives, but let me just tell you.
Yeah.
When the guy who hired me at Mannheim, I told you earlier, he was a friend of mine from church. He had moved up from, Mannheim moved him from North Carolina up to Fredericksburg, Virginia. And his family, as far as I know, to this day, his wife's side of the family has a Christmas tree farm. And so after he had been the GM at Mannheim for a few years, he was planting roots in the community, and they decided to open a tree lot. So, Christmas time, they secured a piece of property near a shopping area, and they set it all up with an RV and all this stuff. So about year 3, it was sometime in October or something, and he and I were just sitting around shooting the bull, and I was asking him about his Christmas tree lot, and I had no interest in this. I said, have you ever thought about, I was just thinking like from a business perspective. I go, well, you've gotten a good name and you got a following here. Have you ever thought about like kind of franchise or whatever and just opening up another lot over on the other side of town or one county over and all that? 30 minutes later, I had a Christmas tree lot, and I went home. I went home to my wife. I didn't have it at that point. Yeah. I went home to my wife and we all sat down. Me and my wife and I and our kids, we always ate dinner. That was a big thing. Gosh. Always. When I was a kid, we made sure it was a big thing. We always had family dinner. So we were sitting down having family dinner. I talked to Michelle about this, and I said, we're not doing this unless we're all in. Everybody, even the kids. Everybody gets a fair vote. So we sat down and we unpacked it for them, and they all were in. All the kids were in. Michelle was in, I was in, so I went back to Steve and I said, yeah, we're in. And so for the next 4 years, we ran a Christmas tree lot 5 miles, maybe 8 miles from our house. And we got an RV, we put it there, it was, and let me tell you something, the last year was kind of tough because by then the kids had moved on a little bit, and it was a lot of just me. It's tough. But for the first few years, it was a joy to do as a family. We all had a good time. I thoroughly enjoy it. I say all the time, nobody ever showed up to buy a Christmas tree in a bad mood. And when you own the trees, and by the way, there was a significant margin on selling trees. It paid for Christmas. Really, it paid for more than paid for Christmas every year we did it. But that meant when, this single mom who couldn't rub 2 nickels together shows up, and this would happen all the time, and it was such a joy. She'd be, what tree would you like? She'd be looking at this one. She goes, well, how much is that? Tell her. She goes, well, I guess I'll take this one. And I said, no. She goes, what? I go, no, you're going to take that one. And then you're not going to pay me anything for it. And just being able to do things like that and have that experience and see people come and be happy and be a part of that Christmas experience each year for them. And it was awesome. So,
that was, ours was a small farm, but it was right across the street.
Yeah.
We had a lot of family and friends that would come. It was joyous.
Yeah.
But you touched on something that I need to talk about. Bill's Auto Parts was definitely a mission. Mm-hmm. And coming from, my Italian side, being immigrants, I remember my grandfather saying when he first came over, he was called WAP, Dago. Mm-hmm. It always stuck with me, a little chip on my shoulder, that I never want to be that guy. And so Bill's Auto Parts, we're in the middle of Cumberland, Rhode Island. It's like the UN on Saturday. Colors, creeds, nationalities. 4 years of Spanish. Some things came back to me, mostly the money. Money is the international language.
Yeah.
And it's not about the money. It was about communicating. and, you know, large Spanish clientele, Mexican, Guatemalan. I like to have fun with them, but I always recognize them, and I wanted my people to pay respect. These are our customers, senor, you know, and then with the money, we'd have fun. Because, you know, most those cultures, they like to negotiate. So
Yeah.
we, as Americans, we kind of, oh, yeah, they want to, you know
I
what?
love it.
Listen, once we get the business established, it was more of a formalized process of pricing. But in the early days, it was horse trading.
Yeah.
But, you know, the guy would say, oh, I'd say, oh, you know, $40. He'd say, oh, 30 pesos for 40 to 30. I'd say 50 pesos. Just the fact that I could come back and I knew money really good.
Yeah.
They would be laughing, and I'd say, hey, somewhere in the middle, boom.
Yeah.
But over the time, I feel like I've made so many friends, so many good relationships, and they knew that if they came to bills, they were going to be respected. In some respects, I'm not a overly religious guy. I felt it was a little bit of a ministry, that we were providing good products, good service, good value to our community of mostly immigrants.
Yeah.
And that it has always meant a lot to me. I think we embedded that in our kids, that you always treat people with respect, whether they are at your restaurant, they're a server or whomever.
Yeah.
And but I always thought it's like a little bit of a ministry. It's my way of giving back to say, hey, man,
And they felt
You're good.
They felt seen. They felt, you know what I mean? Like these people who probably don't always get treated fairly when they walk into a white-owned business or encounter another, you know, person and who they think doesn't speak their language, and then for you to meet them meet them where they are was probably very, you know, refreshing and endearing for them.
I mean,
And you probably got out more of it than they did.
Oh yeah, like we used to call him John the Cambodian.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy escaped Cambodia.
Wow.
Saksabadi, how you doing? Basic stuff.
Yeah.
John would come in. I am telling you, this guy, considering what he had been through, the smile, when he smiled, we laughed together.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a guy named Hong. I haven't thought about this guy in forever. He owned a body shop, may still own the body shop in Woodbridge, Virginia, but he was one of the shops that I managed when I was at Progressive. And I would go to his shop, and you would sit at a desk, and you would write supplements and go inspect cars and blah, blah, blah. I would spend a few hours there a week. And he was an immigrant that came over, and he literally came. I think it came up one time because I mentioned a boat, and he immediately goes, I'm not getting on a boat. I go, why? He goes, I spent weeks floating in a boat. And, you know, he as a kid, he had come over, you know, floating on a boat from one island to another island. And then they found him. He told me the story. You know, they took his mom and his sister, and then they had to go to shore and get them back. And it was a story, right? And then ended up, I forget the exact geography of, you know, where he came from and where he went, but this is the story. And he ends up in America with, like, you know, 86 cents in his pocket. And remember where I was. I was sitting at his business.
Right.
His business, his successful business. It wasn't a hole in the wall. He had a very good body shop business. He had Progressive Insurance as one of his DRPs. He was a DRP for Progressive Insurance as well as Nationwide and Allstate. And it was awesome. I mean, that was just one of those times where, you know, you just get to enjoy being American. And I remember telling him, this was the first time I said this, and I have said this since when I get to meet people like that. I remember looking at him when he told me that story that day. I said, Hong, you're more American than I am. I said, you got this story. You got the story.
That's what this country's about.
Yeah.
Immigrants. And so, yeah, I always, you know, wanted to make sure my people showed respect. And we just, it was like kind of like Cheers sometimes. People come in, you'd see them every day, every week. I mean, it was that part of it when we sold. It was almost like a mutiny, I'll be honest, because we inventoried our cars in our self-serve. We took a lot of customer care. Not that Pick and Pull didn't, but being a you pull it, they only had pictures of the car. And our customers were like, you guys always knew what you had. we were adamant about inventory. I'm an inventory focused guy. We inventoried our self-serve cars. We could sell, the add-on of us pulling it with the warranty. We got to be known as the home of the lifetime warranty. Because I'm like, you know what? People are like, how do you offer a lifetime warranty? Because I own the stuff. And guess what? I want you to come back.
Yeah.
If it's good, if it's bad, we'll take care of you. A lot of the small business owners that were recyclers, you go in there. I even now, I visit a lot of recycling facilities, junkyards, some.
Yeah.
No warranties. No.
Yeah.
How many signs? Well, you don't want business?
How many times can you tell your customer no before they even get to the counter?
No sitting on this chair. I saw Rich see. Like, you can't. What?
It's
Why
a
would
chair.
It's in the office. Why would you not? I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So
You make it hard for them to return the product. You make it hard for them to return to your store.
right back to my proclamation that I am a poster child for association. So obviously with URG, now I'm involved with the Topas of the world, Sturgeons, Jim Counts, Absorbed, and that's. I'll tell you one thing. Ron Sturgeon told me. Paul, your ignorance is your greatest asset.
I'd have to unpack that for
And
a minute before
trust me, I was
figured out,
like, my head did
did
it.
I just get insulted or complimented?
He said, you know what? You have no preconceived notions. You come, you learn, you go back. I've seen you change and you build your business. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I learned from some of the best, the Lacey's.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, the names. And I'm like, the Bijals. How did I get to know these guys? That's our business.
Yeah.
We almost seek out people who walk into a room like they've never been there before and say, hey, man, what's up? What's your story?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. So, what do you think? What's the next chapter look like?
Well, here's the thing. I know you don't want to hear this.
Don't say
I texted Vince. I said, Vince, I'm in the sunset part of the career. I mean,
the first time you said it, I dismissed it. I just dismissed it. I'm like, I'm not hearing this.
I'm blessed
Yeah.
because I feel good at Raz, that I'm still valuable. I'm still relevant.
Sure.
I'm the only guy that owned a recycling business at the company. Sometimes that insight, whether it's marketing, emails, even catalytic converters, how blessed can I be? I got my name on a patent last year
Really?
because of Raz. Katie, my colleague, Jesse, CEO, and our IT director for our interface, for our mobile app.
Uh-huh.
And people are like, well, what was your contribution? Well, I'm the user guy, the user interface guy.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a hack graphic artist. I take what you show me on the screen, I put it
Yeah.
in PowerPoint, and then I kind of rejig it.
Oh, I've seen some of your graphic design.
Yeah. So
Hack is the key word.
yes. Oh, absolutely. And I'm a really good hack. So the bottom line is, as long as they see value in me,
Yeah.
and I work with such a great team that honestly, I don't really see retirement as an end goal. I mean, I'd like to transition maybe, but they've been so flexible and opportunity is still there. This is like pure joy, like the capstone project of your college, 4 years.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I just give them good value every day and have fun.
Okay, good. That's better. That's better than,
Yeah.
Let's stop saying sunset.
What I told Marcy was, hey, we should talk about the R word. My wife's like, what are you going to do? Because I am kind of.
You get bored. What are you going to do?
I think I would find stuff to do. I mean, I'm good at finding stuff.
Do you like to travel?
Love to try. Oh, big trip coming up. Going to Africa.
Ooh,
May, June.
that's cool.
Yep.
I remember a long time ago we had some friends who did an African safari thing and brought back pictures and all. It looks fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And
Just you and Lynn, or is this family?
So Lynn and I and our neighbors who we've become friends with in Hampstead. And so the four of us are going to go.
Awesome.
Yep. Of course, been to Italy a number of
Yeah.
times. And
We've only been once. We're going back.
so good.
Yeah, that's cool. And you've been to the UK? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
UK, Australia. Our honeymoon was in Australia.
Yeah.
We didn't have furniture for a while,
That's funny.
but that was a groundbreaking trip that we went. It was kind of like some life lessons because when we went, we drove, no GPS. I sent airmail
Yeah.
to get a bed and breakfast and waited for the return.
Say that again for the people who are listening.
Yeah.
You didn't say email.
No, airmail. You write, hey,
On a piece of paper.
because we had AAA book. We saw the name, dear so and so. We'd like to stay in your place on these dates. In the mail, boop, in the box. Drove. We drove there, but we did have some tours.
Yeah. And you could have called, but back then a long distance phone call was expensive.
Right. So we did some tours, and there were some widows, and they would say, this trip might be a defining trip for your life journey, that you did it now. We waited, and one of the spouses passed. So
Yeah.
carpe diem, baby.
Yeah, no kidding. I went to the UK for the first time last year, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
To drive? See how much I love to drive. Rotaries,
You know what
roundabouts.
I did? I rented a motorcycle because I'm that guy, right? I'm not. Yeah, and so I went over for a convention, recyclers convention, and some of the other executive committee members came. Darren Kumbelek over there, he was our host. It was fantastic. He drove us around. We visited several recycling yards, and then we ended up in Birmingham, England, for a recycling show. And then afterwards, I stayed we wrapped up on Thursday, and I came home on Sunday. So Friday morning, I picked up a motorcycle and rented it, and I spent all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then Sunday I actually returned it Saturday night, and flew home on Sunday. And there was a point leading up to this where, this is late September, and ARA convention October, and I remember saying to Michelle, I have no business doing this. I need to just cancel this motorcycle and come home. And she's like, look, it's one work day. It's Friday. That's the only day you're taking off, and you need to do this. You're going to love this, right? And right, who does that? I mean, she's the best. Mm-hmm. And so of course I took her advice, and man, I got out of the city. I rented the motorcycle just south of London, and in a town called Woking. Maybe they say walking. I don't know.
Tomato.
Right, not to them. but and then I rode all through the countryside. Like, I stayed away from the cities. I stayed away from major highways, and it was a trip. It was. I have to remind myself that it was like only a day and a half, because it was epic. It was just amazing. I was riding through the countryside on these tiny little roads, sometimes dirt roads, and going through these villages where these places were 1,000 years old, and it's just
castle.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! I'm coming down a country road, and I'm going around a bend, and something catches my eye, and I look up. What you just said, I look up. I go, it's a castle on the hill.
Ireland, England.
It was blowing me away. I stayed in a rented room above a pub one night. I was in the middle of the countryside, and it was, sun was going down, and I come into this little there was nothing. There was a railroad track and a pub which looked like a house, and it said some Berwick. I think the town was called Berwick. It said Berwick Inn. It says inn, so there must be a room. So I walk in, and this young guy comes out. He's, I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher the accent, but he says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I was wondering if you had a room." And he says, "Yes, we have 2 of them." And he says, "We usually keep them for the locals when they get too pissed to go home, but you can have one." It's wonderful. And so I stayed, I ate, and I had a few drinks and hung out with the locals at this little country pub, and then went upstairs and went to sleep. And in the morning, when it was still misty out, I got on my motorcycle and I continued my ride. It was fabulous.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm going back this year, the same conference, and we'll go back again. It's a wonderful opportunity we get to connect with all of the recyclers over there.
They're amazing.
Who spend their time and energy and money to come to the U.S. This is the time. This is one opportunity we get to go to their show, and so I really enjoy connecting with them. And I was just telling Michelle about it a couple days ago. She goes, "Are you going to get a motorcycle and ride?" I go, "I think I am." So yeah,
got to do it. And that's the thing with this business. I mean, ARA,
take you
URG.
places.
You've got people, Chris in Australia, Peter, and global.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
Who would have thought?
All right, you've got a couple things sitting on the table here.
Yeah.
You've got a pink monkey.
So when I
a
started the
book.
consulting thing, one of my seminars was "Don't Feed the Monkey." It's about micromanaging. And I would literally buy these by the dozen, fluorescents. They stick out. I put them at the bar, and people are like, "What? Come to the seminar tomorrow."
You are the prop king.
Prop king. I got 12 boxes in my basement, various props, hats mostly, but the monkeys, people always remember that, as well as like Yank That Bag.
Sure.
Okay. So December 2024, my son, as a gift for Christmas, gives me this program called Storyworth. Now, most people would look, I'm not special, but we all have a story. And it's the best way to document some of that, because you're not sitting at I'm going to say a typewriter with a blank piece of paper. Ring! Blank stare, writer's cramp. They give you a list of questions. He customized the questions to me.
Cool.
And ultimately, over the course of, call it 15 months, like you, I travel for work. Never touched a keyboard on my phone answering these questions. I got 60 chapters.
Wow.
I've always said to people, if I write a book, it's going to be called Life is Not a Straight Line. So that is the title of the book. There's only 3 in print. It's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really cool.
60 chapters. And sometimes, so I said to Lynn, I said, I wrote the book, printed it. You really haven't read it. She goes, read me a chapter. It was talking about being shy and the music thing. We both had tears in our eyes. And I wrote the thing.
Yeah.
But the last couple of chapters, kind of interesting. How has your faith impacted your life journey? What advice would you give to future generations and your family? How do you want to be remembered? Chapter on T-shirts and hats, which I've made a living off of. And the last chapter, I said to my son, we're missing something. I came up with a chapter that says, this is neither a conclusion nor the end.
Nice.
So I kind of segued that,
Really good.
there would be, but it allowed me to just capture a period of time. Like I said, 2 thumbs. I write for the industry,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
When I get an idea in my head, I get the article. I might have slept on it a couple of weeks or whatever. It's written in my head. I just got to get it on paper. Did I go back and have someone check all my grammar? No, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's what it is, bro. I did it. It's there. It's
I'll make
printed.
a suggestion to you, and this is a gift to your kids, grandkids. Record it, narrate it, read it. That'd be good. I'm telling you. I just had this idea. So when I'm traveling and if I'm on a plane and whatever, if I'm looking at my phone and I don't have connectivity, so I'm not on social media. Often my fallback is my photos. I love it. I love looking through my photos. And it doesn't take me long now, because we just went to Italy last year. Before I'm scroll, and then I hit an embarrassing number of photos that we took in Italy. Well, this happened yesterday when I was flying here. And that reminded me of a bunch of journaling that I did when I went to Italy. I journaled every day of our trip. And so I got out of the pictures and I went to my notes and I pulled it up and I started reading it. And I had that idea. That's why that idea was on my head.
Yeah, it's very good.
I thought I'm gonna start a little project where I'm gonna narrate and record all of our trip, and maybe that'll escalate into me doing that for other things. But my son gave me a book a couple of years ago. It's similar to the one your son gave you, and I have not been as good as you have. It's not on my computer. I literally got to write in the book to answer the questions, but I need to do that. But that's an awesome treasure.
Yeah. So I've already got 2, not signings, but I'm going to be doing a program at the Hampstead Library in town where I live. And then my wife, my daughter and I belong to this Bedford Italian Cultural Society. And the lady called me yesterday about membership. And next thing you know, I said, we just got talking about, life
Sure.
and stuff. So the week before Thanksgiving, I'll be delivering a little presentation
cool.
on, not just me, my story, but
Yeah.
how do you do it? A lot of us have such interesting stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
By question.
Yeah.
Just don't get caught up in the details. Just let it fall. I tell people, it was like pouring. Open the spigots.
Yeah. That's
60
cool.
chapters.
Wow. Well, man, this was first of all, before I start wrapping up, is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
No,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
I think there's so many things that obviously, even within the industry, we share
Sure.
as a group. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've been so blessed being part of the auto recycling industry, the friendships, the discussions, the ideas, the innovations. I can only speak about gratitude.
Yeah.
And
I think the auto recycling industry is blessed to have you a part no, I mean,
yeah. And we have fun, by the way.
We have a lot of fun. Yeah, we do
It
have
should
a
be
lot
illegal.
of fun. Yeah. Yeah. I just, no, I appreciate you more than I've probably been able to communicate. You were one of the first people I got to meet and got to know, and what a great ambassador you've been for the industry for a newcomer.
I love that title.
And yeah, so I remember first time I brought Michelle along, I think it was Colorado, and you guys got to know each other, and she's like, yeah, when I told her I was coming up here to interview you, she was happy and wanted me to tell you hello. And you've just been such a presence of positivity every time you've been somewhere that I've got to be, and so appreciate you.
We just feed off each other, and
We do
it's
feed off
wonderful
each other a little bit.
when the wives come. I mean, hey, even in Reno with ARA, the fact that my wife agreed to wear the big foam hat with me.
Gosh, that was amazing.
So I kind of have this line. I think I should make it a T-shirt. I tell people, with Raz, they can't fire me. It's why they hired me.
That's so
I'm dead
true.
serious about what we do, about inventory. But at the same token, I know creating some positivity is, I can't help myself.
Yeah, no. Why would you? Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate you making the drive. I know we're not close to where you live, but boy, thank you so much.
Worth the time, no problem. Always a pleasure, Mr. Vince.
Absolutely.
God bless.
Yeah, you too.